No, he was trying to figure out his one-liner. You know how he does that before he actually records? Yeah. And I'm like, blood and guts, right, as a joke. He goes, exactly. Oh, that's funny.
Now I
All
don't even
right.
have to do it because you just did it for me live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hour where there's nothing left to prove. Experimental lack of concern. It's a perfect world being burned. This is the maniacal hour. Pure 100% underground. Powered by the emotion of self-passion. This is how we get down. Extra read all about it. Evidence coming to take control. Extra read all about it. Coming to take control. Lock and load, steal souls and watch it explode. Dispatch the death squad and watch it go. Serial killers, cadavers, murderous psychos. As the hour goes, it takes the time. Expires as we live dead, revitalized. Surprised by the high with red still in our eyes. The pleasure is all ours to give you the power. This is the maniacal hour.
If only everybody got to hear our production meetings every week. If we only recorded just the production meeting and then just put it on the air like we just did. It's great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Blow Off. It is Thursday, I think, June 30th, 2022. My days have been all screwed up. I'm your host, Dr. Jargo, PhD, joined alongside the COVID kid, the man from down under. He is the GAG from the PWC, ladies and gentlemen. He likes blood and guts. He's my man, Jimmy T. Jimmy T, welcome back to your show.
Thank you very much. And I do like blood and guts, just not too much of it. And there was a lot of it last night on Dynamite, I won't lie.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of it. You know, man, I watched Dynamite on a delay, but I did watch it last night. And I do want to start with blood and guts. I think it's the biggest thing going on in the world of pro wrestling right now. Coming out of Forbidden Door, you go directly into blood and guts. And there was some good and there was some bad inside of blood and guts. But for me, the biggest thing was when I saw this thing was going to go for an hour. They're like, blood and guts up next. And I'm like tapping the screen going, this has seemed like a really short episode of Dynamite. Oh my God, there's an hour left in the show. And I was already checked out because I do not like blood and guts. I do not like war games. I'm not big on cage matches. Like for me, pro wrestling is the art of pro wrestling. I would rather watch Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon go in and get into a ring with Zack Sabre Jr. and have their technical wrestling match. If you haven't seen the Zack Sabre Jr. promo, by the way, absolutely go and check that out. It's absolutely hilarious and why he lost to Claudio. This is just a spectacle where people are cheering violence, and I don't really buy into all of that. Jimmy, before we even talk about the match, how did you feel about blood and guts even being a thing? Because like I'm just not into the ultra violent pro wrestling style.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I felt the same way. That's exactly what I said essentially on the skirmish last night with Jeff. And yeah, man, I just felt like, I don't know, I didn't like this match as much as everybody else did. I mean, everybody thoroughly enjoyed this matchup. I thought it was okay. Yeah, sure, it was fun, but it was just outrageously violent to the extent where it was just overkill, man. I mean, there was a point, I don't know if you saw this part, Jargo, but Angelo fucking...
hanging upside down.
Yeah, like a freaking... Like, dude, that was pretty graphic. I mean, and all this blood just streaming down... He reminded me of a fish or a duck, you know, in a Chinese restaurant, hanging upside down with all this blood just streaming down, dude. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I immediately thought of a hog in the slaughterhouse. So yeah, I mean, we're exactly. Pretty close to the same page on that. It's just not my forte. It's not what I like. I know other people like it, and you know, more power to you. As far as the matchup itself goes, I'd give it probably a B, maybe a B plus, 7, 8 out of 10. Like, I mean, it was fine for what it was. It's just not really my cup of tea.
No, and you know what else was stupid? I mean, think of the end when they're all like, you know, parading to the fans on top of the cages, right? But you got fucking Jericho right in front of him, right? Aren't they supposed to all hate Jericho's guts? No pun intended. While he's just sitting there, it's not like he can just roll off the cage and fall over, right? So he's sitting there while they're all parading like, yeah, right. Hey, we won.
Yeah, I did catch that, where it was just like, what are we doing?
It's silly.
And for me, that's the more interesting thing is it seems like they're going to keep this going.
Oh, well, that
Because-
doesn't surprise me.
Last night should have been the blow off, right? Like, pun intended. You're listening to the blow off of the Hami Media Group, channelattitude.com. But it should have been the blow off. Like, this should have been the big crowning moment for Eddie Kingston to get that big win over Jericho, and we can move the hell on, right? But it's like, as I think back on this feud now, they gave Kingston his moment first, and they're telling the story backwards.
Right. Absolutely correct, dude. It's silly, it's dumb, and I don't want to see this shit continue on because look at Santana and Ortiz.
Well,
Still,
I mean,
they're going to be involved with Jericho one way or the other, dude.
I'm not sure about that because,
Well,
I mean,
Santana, right.
Santana is clearly, like, it seems like that was a shoot injury, so he could be out of commission for a little while. And unfortunately, when I think of LAX, if one of them was going to branch off as a single star, it's Santana, not Ortiz. No disrespect to Ortiz. He just doesn't feel like a singles star to me. And I'm afraid that he ends up in the Jericho Appreciation Society just because we don't know what the hell else to do with him at this point. Because I don't want him in the Blackpool Combat Club. Like, he doesn't fit that. Like, we just pull a Sammy Guevara and stick him with Jericho again. Uh-oh, Jimmy T is frozen. Jimmy T. Come on back, Jimmy T. Jimmy T, where did you go?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy T is back.
I don't know what the hell happened there. I was in the warp zone there for a minute, but sorry about that. Continue on. I didn't hear what you said, but yeah, I know you were talking about Santana.
Yeah, Santana would be the single star of the two if I had my choice. Do we just stick Ortiz back with Jericho? Does he rejoin the Jericho Appreciation Society? Because I don't know what you do with him without Santana.
I'll be honest with you. Ever since he shaved his head, he just looks like any jobber from like New York City, dude.
He's just a dude.
Right, and I say that respectfully because I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. I don't know what you do with him at this point. He's just a dude, really.
Right.
Where can you put him? Who are you going to put him against where you can actually take him serious? Think about that for a minute.
I mean, there's a lot of guys on Dark, but I mean,
Oh, wow.
you know.
Dark, right. But Santana, though, has definitely got potential to be a single star. And he's improved tenfold, even in terms of his promos, his look. He's bulked up.
He's really worked on his body.
Absolutely. And, you know, all the potential's there with Santana. Unfortunately, Ortiz, if he's not careful, he's going to be left behind. And I feel for him.
I don't need Jericho and Kingston to continue. I feel like last night should have been it. It should have been the blow off. And I understand Eddie Kingston being upset that, you know, Claudio gets the tap out before Jericho would tap out to him. But that just means that this is going to continue. And then we start getting into the Claudio Kingston conundrum and what do we do there? Because clearly the seeds are being planted for what's going on there. Claudio, of course, inside of the Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, the world heavyweight champion, even though they didn't even say that on Dynamite last night, which really, really bothered me. Like there's so many moving parts around all of this. But at its core, it's still Kingston versus Jericho. Jericho didn't get his comeuppance last night. I don't see him getting his comeuppance in another singles match. Like, this all feels incredibly anticlimactic when last night should have been the climax. You don't get anything bigger than blood and guts, literally. Like, just the sheer amount of space that setup takes is huge. What do we do for the blow off now? Because I don't even know if there's going to be a blow off now. It just feels flat.
Yeah, no, you're right, dude. And I don't know why they choose to continue on this bullshit, but it's AEW, man. It is what it is. It's called long-term storytelling, Jargo, according to AEW.
Long-term storytelling. You know, they did have some long-term storytelling last night on AEW TV, and I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it very much more than I enjoyed Blood and Guts. It was very good, and it was very evil. Danhausen and FTR versus the Asscasters. Copyright.
That's a good one.
This is the best storyline going on in AEW right now. I looked it up the other day, Jimmy too, and when he started playing the video of Danhausen when he thought that he worked at A and W, right, instead of AEW, and he first released the Ass Boys on the World. That was 5 months ago. 5 months ago, we started airing that video. Before I moved to Indiana, we were airing that video.
And now they decide to go with it, right? How stupid, right? When you really think about it.
But it seems like we kind of breezed past it. Like we had to introduce it to the big audience because, let's face it, not that many people saw that video on YouTube. Right. But so they introduced it to the main audience and then they moved right past it. So at least they're telling the story and then they're getting past it as quick as they can for those of us who have been following this for 5 months. But they've brought it to TV, and I thought the entire dynamic between Daddy Ass and the Ass Boys last night on AEW Dynamite, that was the best pro wrestling story that I saw on the entire show.
I actually agree with you. In many ways, it was my favorite thing of Dynamite.
It was my favorite thing on the show. Right. It was.
As crazy as that sounds. But the only thing that took me away from that matchup was damn Aubrey Edwards, dude. I can't stand her as a referee, bro, especially when Bowens came in with the crutch and went to hit one of the ass clowns and she spotted him. She looked behind as she was sort of trying to like get all the guys that were outside of the ring, right? Yeah, it's true. As she was trying to like do that shit, she looks behind her like this, I kid you not, as Bowens smacks one of the ass boys right in the face. And what does she do? She's like, shit, turns back around and acts like she never saw it. That's the only thing that took me away from that matchup. It's not their fault, it's her fault.
If Billy Gunn, if Daddy Ass himself is going to get rid of the Ass Boys, if he's going to turn on the Ass Boys, I am firmly supportive of the Ass Boys replacing 2.0 inside of the Jericho Appreciation Society and calling them the Ass Clowns. I am I am firmly in support. Jericho's the one that copywritten that name, as far as I know, the Ass Clowns. He's the first person I ever heard somebody call somebody an ass clown. If the Ass Boys want to become Ass Clowns, I firmly support that. I would absolutely be down with that.
And you know what sucks, dude? How many times we come up with this shit here, right here on the blow off, right? Just for them to screw it up, right? This is free tips for friggin' TK. That is the best idea I've heard out of anybody say on how to use the ass clowns, and I mean ass boys. That's perfect, dude.
Great.
What better way to do? It's the best thing to do.
They were born into sports entertainment.
Absolutely. That works for me. I mean, it would work for everybody and it makes total sense. I mean, because at the end of the day, where are we going? Is Billy Gunn going to stick with the Acclaimed, or is he going to turn on them and run back to his sons?
Well, and that's the interesting part of this, right? Because I do kind of like the dynamic between Billy Gunn and Anthony Bowens more than I like the dynamic between Daddy Ass and the Ass Boys.
It's funny. It's true. I actually like it too, man. And I think he suits the Acclaimed, dude. I really do. He doesn't have to say shit either. You know what I mean? He just has to be there. And I like it. No, I like that idea. But you suggesting the Ass Boys join the Jericho Appreciation Society?
The Ass Clowns.
Perfect. The Ass Clowns.
It would be great. And get rid of 2.0. I'm just
come on.
These guys do nothing for me. I mean,
Manny Maynard is funny to me. He's just funny.
For me, that's go away heat. Like, it's go away heat. Like, it's not that good heat. I just want to turn the channel whenever they come on my TV. Like, I just go away.
They're Canadians, bro. They're Canadians. Come on.
I've never liked it. So
and French Canadians, no less.
Oh, no wonder they're terrible people. Shout out to all of our friends in Canada, especially the Turnbuckle Talk boys. Tremendous. Then we also have the Claudio Kingston conundrum. Because it seemed like they didn't like each other, and then they're like, okay, yeah, but we won the match, and that's all fine and dandy, and yeah, you got me on that one. You know, like, yeah, we did a solid though. How long before this explodes? And is it next week on Dynamite or 2 weeks from now on Dynamite? Because it's not going to be long.
I say maybe 3 weeks from now, because they will slowly build it up. You know how it's going to be. They're going to be in a match where, you know, are they even booked for Rampage, for the Royal Rampage show? That 20-man Battle Royal?
I'm not sure if they are or not, but we're going to talk about that here in just a couple minutes.
All right, well, I don't know who's booked for that, but if they were, it could start from there and then, you know, build to a matchup. But, yeah, I mean, again, they're not explaining the history between Kingston and Castagnoli. That's the problem, dude. They're not saying... All they've been saying, oh, they don't like each other. That's it. You know what I mean? But why don't they like each other? When did they not like each other? You know, this goes way, way back. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they looked very friendly with each other too by the end of the matchup. And I'm hearing Kingston could have a back injury of sorts.
Well, and the thing that's interesting is, so I did a little bit of research on this because I knew part of it and I didn't know all of it. This really goes back to like 2009 is when things really, really blew up. They've been in the ring together like 30 some times on the independent scene. And when you consider how long Cesaro, as Jim Ross would tell you, Cesaro was in the WWE, those 30 some matches were a very, very long time ago, but it was really 2009 when things blew up. The problem that I have is the Claudio Castagnoli that we had in 2009 and the Cesaro that has been presented on WWE TV for basically 10 years are two incredibly different characters. And
Absolutely.
in order to get back to that feud, we would have to go back in time with at least one of these characters. The problem is the feud is basically the same story that they tell with Eddie Kingston every single time, where, you know, they were friends, they came up together, they were tag team partners, and Cesaro realized his potential and went on to, you know, national television and the biggest stadiums in the world for 10 years, while Eddie Kingston continued to struggle on the independent scene and in Impact Wrestling, and because he didn't put in the work and he was lazy and all this untapped potential that just never came to fruition. But you had a very, very dickheadish Claudio that was spouting all of this stuff, but it's basically everything that they've already done with Bryan Danielson. Like it's the same, it's everything they've already done with Chris Jericho.
Right. No, you're right.
And
that's the thing.
Do we even need to tell that story?
Well, really, we don't. And why do we need to even tell this story when it was way back in 2008, 2009?
Right.
Who cares? Right? No one knows. No one cares. At least build a storyline where it matters for the current generation of fans. You know what I'm saying? Where you could do something on the show and not really talk about 2008, 2009 in the damn indies, bro. I mean, let's be honest, right? Like
well,
you said,
I feel like the only way to tell this story is to turn Eddie Kingston heel. And
yeah, but the fans love him, dude. They want to see him. And I don't understand it because really, I'm not the biggest Kingston fan. Sure, he's the underdog. Sure, he's almost that people's... In some ways, he's a people's champ, right? Because, you know, he's
a blue-collar dude.
Right, absolutely.
He's a poor man's Moxley.
A very poor man's Moxley, let's be honest,
I mean, it's
right?
very much the same character, right? Like, he just wants to go out and get in fights and beat people up and get paid for it at the end of the day. Like...
Absolutely. But the thing is he too one dynamic, man? Because, I don't know, I feel like it's the same shit, like you said. No matter who he's facing... It's the same friggin' thing. Obviously, he can't get along with anybody other than Moxley. You know what I mean? No one likes him.
That's why I say, like, I feel like we have to flip it. If you want to tell the story, like, it has to be like Kingston is completely unreasonable for holding on to this grudge from 15 years ago.
Right. Well,
right.
Yeah.
Like he just won't let it go. And, you know, Claudio could be like, but bro, you made it. Like, look, we're here together. Like,
don't speak logic, Jago, please.
Like, just let it go. You know what I mean? And Kingston just won't let it go. And Claudio finally is just like, listen, if you want to fight to get it off your damn chest, then let's have a fight. Like, that's the only way I can see how to do it. But I don't know how you do that without turning Eddie Kingston heel for being the guy who just won't let go of a grudge that happened half of a lifetime ago.
Well, if they do end up pushing on with this so-called feud from, like, you know, 15 years ago, it feels like. Does that mean, wouldn't that make...
it's not that it feels like, Jimmy, it is.
Well, it was, right. But wouldn't that make, yeah, exactly. wouldn't that make Kingston automatically the heel though? Because the fans aren't going to boo Costagnoli.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like, but do we want to turn Kingston heel because that crowd
Wrong
is
time.
with Eddie Kingston?
Right. Yeah. Again, TK likes to blow his load straight away, dude. You know that, right? So why did they have to do it right away when they can hold out and tell it another time? You know what I mean? But instead, he wants to do it now. And unfortunately, in my opinion, and obviously in yours, it's not the right time to do it because it just fucks the whole dynamic up.
Yeah,
it's TK.
Just, I mean, the only guy that I want to tell me the story is Eddie Kingston. He's the only guy who can tell the story. And until he has a microphone in his hand and explains to me why he hates Claudio, I mean, because I don't assume anybody to know this. I don't assume anybody to be going to their fire-breathing Twitter machines and trying to find out exactly why Eddie Kingston doesn't like Claudio. Like, maybe 150,000 people will do that, but that's about it, you know?
150,000, please. More like 1,500 people, bro.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. Come on.
Yeah. I live a sad life. Very, very sad life.
Well.
So sad that I notice weird things that I don't understand on pro wrestling shows. So
Really?
last night for Blood and Guts, the Jericho Appreciation Society comes out looking like men at work.
Oh.
And then
Oh.
the Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston come out
Like bums?
to Claudio's music, which I thought was, because I mean, this was Claudio's first time on Dynamite, so I'll give him that. But rather than doing individual entrances for everybody, they all come out together, except for the champ. That makes sense to me, especially because Moxley always comes in from the crowd. He's kind of his own entity. He's Moxley. Okay, I can be down with that. Moxley comes out carrying the championship, doesn't even have the championship over his shoulder like he normally does. Thought that was kind of weird. And they introduce him for the match. Jon Moxley. Not the interim AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley. He's just Jon Moxley.
Well,
I mean, now maybe this was just something that slipped Justin Roberts' mind, that Moxley is the guy who is the face of the company and walking around with the biggest championship in the company, and, you know, the feature act who gets his own entrance at the end of the show and everybody sings along with his music, and oh yeah, the big belt that should be over his shoulder, but instead he's carrying it down below his waist inexplicably, which I just don't understand. By the way, that's not something that you do, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to carry a championship belt, you carry it where people can see it, not down below your waist. I did not understand the introduction of Jon Moxley. This should have been a big crowning moment for the AEW audience, for, you know, your lead babyface to come out as the new interim champion. No fanfare for Moxley winning that title. Was this a result of the way those fans turned on Moxley in Chicago?
I think it is actually, Jugger, because that was legit go away heat once they turned, bro. And like you said, it was crickets for Mox on Dynamite. So maybe the fans
seemed into him. And I said this on the Forbidden Door show at Channel Attitude. It doesn't matter if the fans turned on Moxley, because Wednesday on Dynamite, they're going to be with Moxley. And the next Wednesday on Dynamite, they're going to be with Moxley. Like, I wasn't worried. They seemed into Moxley for me last night, even though he felt like, you know, the fourth or fifth most important person in this match. But no fanfare for him being the new champion because, oh yeah, blood and guts. And I didn't like the presentation at all.
Neither do I. And what is Moxley at this point? Is he just like an upper class version of a backyard wrestler? Because that's essentially how he's being booked. I mean, think about it.
Kind of how he's presented too.
Right. You know what I mean? Is he really the right man right now to be leading AEW?
No, the right man is CM Punk, but he's hurt.
Right. But I'm saying right now, other than Punk being hurt now, like,
who would you have put that title on if not Moxley? I guess that would be my question at this point.
Right now, it would have been Wardlow.
Really?
Really? Because look how cold he is. Ice cold. Waste of time. Waste of money. What was that win against MJF for? Nothing?
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about Wardlow,
It's peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Now there you go, there you go, there you go, there you go. Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly. Shit.
That's what's going to happen with Wardlow next Wednesday on Dynamite. He's gonna take out Scorpio Sky in a street fight, and he's going to win the TNT Championship. I agree. It feels like it came out of nowhere. Like we knew it was building to this, but it hadn't been presented as any kind of a priority. And then last night on Dynamite, boom, and like, a 45-second throwaway segment, which I'm fine with. I feel like all pro wrestling promos, the longest one should ever be a minute and a half. But yeah. I thought that was a fine segment. It just feels super cold.
Yeah, absolutely cold. Ice cold, as a matter of fact. And that's my point. They should have put the title on him when he was red hot. Like right then, when he beat MJF next night, go after the champ, bang. Right? But I understand Punk just won the championship. They booked themselves into a corner once again, as they always do, AEW. And here we are again. They've booked themselves into a corner, yeah. And is Wardlow going to win the TNT Championship? I'm not 100% certain, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a no disqualification match. I mean, okay, sure. Is he going to bury all of American Top Team, really?
I mean, yeah.
He's going to get go-away heat if they aren't careful, dude. I'm telling you. I'm telling you now.
When they did that 1-on-20 match, that was just absolutely terrible. I mean, terrible. Quite possibly the worst segment in AEW history. I mean, it was like just dousing ice water on a fire.
Ice water.
Oh yeah. I mean, because it's not just cold. I mean, it is cold. And Scorpio is the right opponent. Scorpio could go out there and tear the house down with Wardlow. The street fight aspect, if Scorpio walks away with this championship Wednesday on Dynamite, it's going to be because of some kind of chicanery, of course. And then it'll build to a match at the next pay-per-view. I mean, like that's clearly what you do, but I'm with you. I don't think you build this that long. I think if you're going to strike with Wardlow, you've got to do it now while, there's still at least a little bit of smolder to the fire, because it's damn near out.
It really is. It's damn near out. And I feel bad for Wardlow, because if I was him, I would be pissed. But obviously, I guess he's going to win the TNT Championship, the Peanut Butter and Jelly Championship, that is. And yeah, so what? So basically, we get Wardlow. He must be big and dumb, clearly. He doesn't want the AEW Championship because the interim belt means nothing to him. So he'd rather go for the TNT Championship. And once Punk comes back, then he can go for the title. To me, that's just so dumb.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of dumb. So we know that Friday on Rampage, we are supposed to have the Royal Rampage Battle Royal. It's going to be 20 men, every man for themselves. I don't have a listing of who all is going to be in this match. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to wait until Rampage to find out, the spoilers are out there. They filmed it last night in Detroit. I'm going to tell you who won this Battle Royal, and then we can discuss what they're going to do going forward. But I do want to give out the spoiler in case anybody wants to, turn off now, or if you want to fast forward a few minutes, knock yourselves out, because we still got G1 announcements. We're going to talk about Money in the Bank. We're going to talk about Logan Paul. So if you want to skip forward like 5-10 minutes, cool. But this is your warning. Now is the time that you need to skip forward if you don't want to hear who won the Rampage Royale on Friday night. You have about 3 seconds. 3, 2. Jimmy, do you have any guesses as to who you think is going to be the first person, or do you already know?
I don't know, but I was going to ask you this question. Was it a Rumble full of, or should I say Battle Royal, full of jobbers?
I don't know. I kind of assume so, given who won, and that is not indicative of how I feel about the talent.
All right, one more question before you tell me. Was Hangman involved in this?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
All right, so, tell me. I have no idea.
The winner of the Rampage Battle Royal was Brody King. So Brody King versus John Moxley for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Like, I'm down with that. The match will be fantastic. I can't wait to see it. I'm a big fan of Brody, but
no build to him whatsoever. Why? Like, what's
I thought Brody King was injured. I haven't even seen him on TV for, like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something like that. I think since Anna Jay or whatever the hell her name is joined the House of Black.
Julia Hart, you mean?
Julia Hart, that's who I meant.
Right.
So I don't think I've seen him since then. And I'm pretty sure he lost the match that I saw him in.
Fuck. First of all, I'm cool with it too. My issue is they haven't built him up whatsoever.
Not at all. Especially as a single. Like, him and Malachi together as a tag team, I could see them being, top 5 ranked at this point. Like, they have won a bunch of matches. Okay. But as a single, he hasn't been presented that way at all.
I'll tell you why this happened. Because obviously Lance Archer is flying off to Japan for the G1. He's your normal big guy that wins your number 1 contender match out of the blue and then loses in a championship matchup. That's all he's doing. He's basically Lance Archer, and then he's going to lose to Moxley, and then we're going to forget about Brody King.
It's just very odd to me. Very, very odd.
And especially, like, where does this put Malachi Black even? And I know Buddy Matthews is injured too, right? But it would have been better off putting Malachi at this point as your number 1 contender, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, that would seem logical to me, too. I'm very curious how supportive of this Malachi Black may or may not be. Because, I mean, and at the end of this, I could see Brody basically having Moxley beat.
I'd love to see that.
And Malachi hits Brody with the mist and takes him out. Because we did talk about on the Forbidden Door review show about the possibility of them replacing Brody King inside of the House of Black with a certain Bulgarian brute as Malachi's heavy muscle, because we thought Brody was going to be out of action with an injury. Right. I mean, there's a lot of different ways this could go, and I'm happy for Brody to see him in this position, but it just seems really weird.
Well, Jago, maybe they are listening to us, man. Maybe that's the exact route they're going with, because maybe Brody King does branch away from the House of Black. I doubt it, but maybe he does. And maybe you bring in Miro, like you said, because at the end of the day, he got sprayed with that black mist.
Right.
Something's up, right? He either comes out as a pirate like everyone else does.
Clearly, Malachi Black and Miro are going to have a program going forward. I was surprised that wasn't paid any lip service on Dynamite.
Absolutely nada.
I mean, because to me, Miro's one of those guys, like, if you want to legitimize the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, you need to be having Moxley against guys like Miro. Like, that to me feels like an AEW World Heavyweight Championship match.
Absolutely does. But for whatever reason, again, this is that erratic booking style of TK, dude. It's so erratic. It's so, like, doesn't make sense. And there's always questions. You're left with asking more questions than the answers that we end up getting, Jago, and that's unfortunate. But whatever, I guess we're going to go with Brody King and Moxley. And when is this happening? Is it next week on Dynamite? Or
I don't know. I don't know.
Jeez, well, whatever, I guess, man.
I mean, because I don't even feel like Brody King versus Moxley, I don't even feel like that draws an audience on Dynamite.
Absolutely not. Well, if they're trying to break that million mark, that's definitely not how you do it.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see the numbers when they come in today, they did for Blood and Guts.
Let's be honest, even at this point, Luchasaurus would have been a better pick. I mean, after what happened on Dynamite and whatnot.
Luchasaurus.
Or should I call him Kane?
This entire thing that they're doing with Luchasaurus and Christian, it's just awful. It's just
There's
awful.
There's no reason.
It's everything I wanted them to do with Jungle Boy.
Called it. Right, we called this shit months ago.
We just didn't put Christian with Luchasaurus. I mean...
Well, I did. I actually did. I said this months ago. I said it'll be Luchasaurus and Christian turning on Jungle Boy, except not the way I imagined it. Because, I mean, Luchasaurus didn't do anything to Jungle Boy. No. If we're going to have this pairing, we could have at least had Luchasaurus turn on Jungle Boy, get mega heat at Forbidden Door, You know, the crowd would have been booing the shit out of him. He would have got a lot of heat, but nope.
I feel like if you were going to do this, you had to repackage Luchasaurus, take off the mask, just let him be Austin, you know.
You think?
Yeah, I feel like the Luchasaurus gimmick was on borrowed time to begin with, but especially if you're going to take him away from Jungle Boy, it's time to ditch the get up.
Yeah, look, I don't mind his look. It's the name that I can't stand.
Yep.
Luchasaurus. Like, think about it. It sounds like Luchasaurus to me. And, well, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, at this point, you might as well call him Barney.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty
Why
much.
not?
Pretty much. Let's shift. Let's go across the Atlantic Ocean, as Tony Khan would like to have you believe, and go to the country of Japan, the All Atlantic Championship. So ridiculous. G1 announcements, Jimmy T. It is that time of year. You know, it's funny that, you know, I feel like after the Forbidden Door and after WrestleMania, before SummerSlam, we kind of enter this lull period inside of the world of pro wrestling, unless you're a Japanese pro wrestling fan, because now things are starting to pick up a little bit. We've got G1 Climax announcements. We've got Stardom 5-star Grand Prix announcements. I want to run through the blocks, kind of get your thoughts here. Have you seen the blocks yet for the G1?
I have. Oh, no, I haven't seen the blocks. I've just seen the wrestlers that were announced.
Okay, so here are your blocks. We're doing 4 blocks of 7 this year, ladies and gentlemen. So it's going to be a complete clusterfuck in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling for the next couple of months as we find out who's going to go on to Wrestle Kingdom to face off with Switchblade Jay White. In the A block, we have Kazuchika Okada, Filthy Tom Lawler, Jeff Cobb, Bad Luck Fale, Toru Yano, Jonah, and AEW's Lance Archer. So this is the land of the giants. That's what the A block is going to be. And I can't wait to see Okada against all of these guys. Jeff Cobb, Fale, Jonah, and Lance Archer. Okada typically is the bigger man inside of most matches. We're going to actually get to see fighting from underneath Kazuchika Okada throughout this G1. And that's a story I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, absolutely. It's different. That's for sure, man. I mean, boy, I feel bad for Okada. I mean, literally, he's up against all these monsters. And then you've got Yano, and even Yano, he's a pretty big guy.
Yano's a big dude.
He's a big dude.
One of those, you know, mistakenly big dudes. I still think they missed a huge opportunity at Forbidden Door to have Danhausen curse Toru Yano before the G1. It would have been amazing. You could have had Yano lose all of his matches throughout the G1 because he was cursed. Like, cursed Yano would have been amazing.
Dude, you've been on fire the last few weeks when it comes to like, you know, story situations and story arcs. For whatever reason, they don't know what they're doing half the time. But you're right. It should have been that. It would have
great.
worked. It would have been great. I mean, heck, it would have been even funny if Danhausen turned up to New Japan.
Yeah, like maybe before like the last match, Danhausen lifts the curse on Toru Yano, and Yano like scores a roll-up pinfall over like Fale or something.
Yeah, and he sells him a Danhausen DVD or something.
Yes! Would have been amazing.
Like I said, don't talk logic, Jago, because clearly there's no logic right now in professional wrestling.
I am curious to see Jonah and how Jonah is presented inside of New Japan. I think he could be a good fit. And the one that I think everybody is looking forward to is Filthy Tom Lawler. And as much as I am looking to seeing Filthy inside of the G1 Climax, this is not the competition that I want to see Filthy Tom Lawler against. I don't think he's winning a whole lot of matches here, man. Okada, Jeff Cobb, Fale, Jonah, Lance Archer. Like, Filthy's going to look like a junior heavyweight in there with a bunch of these guys.
And he's not that small himself. But he's a brawl. I mean, he's a wrestler more so than anything. But he's down to fight, you know what I'm saying? So don't be surprised if Tom Lawler goes actually quite far in the G1. But then again, maybe not. We'll see. But I do think he's got the potential to get pretty far.
That's going to be, I can't wait to see Filthy Tom Lawler versus Jeff Cobb. That is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm calling like early match of the tournament. That's going to be a sleeper. That's going to be really good. B block is going to feature Taichi, Tama Tonga, Tomohiro Ishii, the Great Sonata, as Billy Ray Valentine would call him, the Great Okan, Chase Owens, and IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Switchblade Jay White. This one seems about as cut and dry as you can get. Jay is going to win this B block.
Easily.
Well, I don't know about easily because I am looking at Sonata. Okay, and I could see Sonata making a run and being at number 2 inside of this block. I don't think they're going to give Ishii that push, especially dealing with an injury. Taichi, I don't think they're going to try to elevate. Chase is in there to eat pins. Great Okan is in there to kind of be the big guy threat. But Jay walks away with this block easy.
Easy.
Undefeated, maybe.
Yeah, it's quite a possibility. Actually, he will go undefeated. Absolutely, 100%. But that's see the contrast with the A block and B block. It's just completely different. I mean, yeah, we'll see. Well, what's the C block though, Jago?
Well, before we talk C, let's talk D. Because I feel like D is very, very cut and dry like the B block. I think the C block is the most interesting. The D block features Will Ospreay, Yujiro Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, Juice Robinson, Rock Hard Juice Robinson, Yoshi Bon Jovi, David Finlay, and El Phantasmo. So we're going to get to see Will Ospreay versus El Phantasmo inside of the D block. That is going to be an early highlight of the tournament. And another potential match of the tournament kind of thing. That's going to be a sleeper match. But I feel like Ospreay runs away with this block. Yujiro, Shingo. I mean, Shingo's going to be in the mix. Juice, Yoshihashi, David Finlay, El Phantasmo. I'll be amazed if Phantasmo wins more than 2 matches. He's in there to eat pins. He's making the transition from junior to heavy. He'll get some love, but he's going to be eating a lot of pins as he goes through the transition.
Could he be a sleeper in the group, actually, in the block? Because, I mean, I don't see him going anywhere higher than 3rd, though. Like, that's absolutely the highest.
The absolute highest.
Absolute highest.
I feel like Ospreay wins, but if New Japan wants to do the show a solid, and I know that we get a lot of listeners on the Hami Media Group. If you didn't hear on channelattitude.com, I am firmly in the camp. Justice for Shingo. We need to get this made as a t-shirt. Justice for Shingo after the way that he was treating at Forbidden Door. So any t-shirt designers out there, I got the design. Let's get it rolling. Justice for Shingo, blowoffpod.com.
And you described it too.
I did, like, to a T. To a T.
That's why I'm laughing, because it's exactly how you described it.
Justice for Shingo. The C block is interesting because there are several people that I feel like could win this block. All right. The ace is in the C block. So Hiroshi Tanahashi alongside of Kenta, Zack Sabre Jr., Hiroki Goto, Aaron Hanare, he's going to eat a lot of pins, Evil, and Tetsuya Naito. So the C block is loaded. This is the one that has the most intrigue by far.
Is this the block of death?
It kind of seems that way because, I mean, Tana can easily make a run through this thing. They could give Kenta a push and elevate him inside of this thing. Zach, I could see winning this thing. If they want to try to make a run with Goto, they're not going to try to make a run with Goto, but you could see them actually doing that. And the Evil, they like to push out of absolutely freaking nowhere. And Tetsuya Naito, of course, always a threat to win. The thing is, my understanding is this is going to build to a 4-way, right?
It seems like it. I mean, you think definitely it would have to be, but who's going to win it though? That's the tough one. I do feel like, see, for me, I would want Naito to win, but it just feels like they're not really behind him right now anymore. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's injury prone all the time and whatnot. But do you feel like he's winding down?
Well, I mean, I feel like Naito's been winding down for years. But I mean, part of that is just the Naito character and his lack of give a shit is really hard to distinguish. Right, oh, I'm getting pushed. I'm really hot. I'm really motivated. Or yeah, they're not really.
That, you think?
Well, I mean, it's the character because you never. kayfabe is still very real in Japan.
Of course, right.
You know, so even when you get like an out of character interview with Tetsuya Naito, you still get Tranquilo Tetsuya Naito, and it's just, it's whatever, you know, like
such a shame, man. Such a
but
shame.
I mean, with his knees in the shape that they're in, I mean,
but they've been shot for years, man.
But right, but he's going to be a Tanahashi-like character, I think, over the course of the next 3 to 5 years. Where if you need to warm somebody up, if you need to do something interesting, you can always warm Naito up. People will immediately take him seriously. Or he can kind of play second fiddle and tag with Sonata and maybe go after the tag titles, or he could go after, you know, the Never title, or he could come over and work strong for 6 months. Like whatever you want to do, wherever you want to slot him, he seems pretty cool with that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if he's cool with it, then I'm cool with it. But who do you think is going to be the one that actually pulls away from this one? Would it be the Ace, you think?
I'm really torn on this one. I'm really torn. I would like to see Naito win this block. I would like to see Naito win the tournament. I feel like it's time again, right? Like
absolutely.
When you look at the rotation amongst the top that is New Japan Pro Wrestling, you've got obviously Switchblade is on top, Okada, Tanahashi, Ospreay, Naito. That's 5. I mean, if you're doing the SmackDown 6, that's 5 off the top of my head. Yeah, I mean, Kenta's certainly in that mix. Sonata is in that mix. I think they're trying to elevate Jeff Cobb to be inside of that mix. Shingo was in that mix for a brief period of time. Kota Ibushi should be the guy in that mix, and nobody knows what's going on with Kota at this point. So
I was just going to ask, is there any news on Kota Ibushi at this point?
Nope. Not that I've heard.
Also, did you listen to a Kenny Omega interview recently that was a few days ago with Sean Ross Sapp?
No, I did not. I saw the thing on his Twitch account about one more injury, and I'm just going to be done. Like, I can't do this again.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that if he had like one more major setback, like he's probably going to be done because
he's 39, bro.
Well, yeah. And that's what he's saying. Like in the pressure that Kenny is under when he comes back and the hell that he is putting himself through to get back to 80% of what, you know, he used to be when people expect the best bout machine. They expect the best pro wrestler in the world. Like it's a little different for him when he's coming back from an injury versus when, you know, Chuck Taylor is coming back from an injury, you know?
Absolutely. I can understand that because if he's not that Kenny Omega that we know and love, then I'm sure he'll be like, fuck this, I can't do this anymore. But it's interesting because he did actually say during this interview that he did come back and was actually training a lot of wrestlers at a point. But then he started getting hurt. He wasn't ready. And then he realized, he goes, I wasn't ready to even do that. Right? Yeah. So he had to step away and do him and recover properly. And that's what's been the setback with him actually coming back. He goes, I'm not saying if I didn't come back to AEW and help out with shit in the back, that he would have been at Forbidden Door. But he's essentially saying that if he wasn't doing that, he would have been ready to go by Forbidden Door. And unfortunately, that actually set him back to where he's not quite sure when he's going to be back, but he's nearly there. But he just needs to recoup a little longer. But he did build. I felt bad for him, dude. He got asked about who he likes better, Will Ospreay or Jay White. Right? And get this though, but he was getting upset almost because it kind of sounded bad the way he put it. He essentially saying that Jay White, right, he goes, they're both big stars, and New Japan obviously see a lot in both of them, right? But he feels that Jay White has gone ahead of him, whereas at one point he felt Ospreay was ahead of Jay White, but Jay White is the smarter wrestler. He said, Jay doesn't have to do all the shit that Will Ospreay does, right? But he knows how to market himself. He marketed himself to the point where he's the number one guy in New Japan, whereas Ospreay is just your match. He goes, I don't want to make it sound like I'm actually giving shit to the guy because Ospreay is one of the best. He goes, but the difference is Ospreay needs to work his ass off, you know what I mean, to be on Jay's level because Ospreay doesn't really have that character like
Right.
Jay does. It's hard to explain. You have to hear what he says, and it makes total sense. So that's why he thinks Jay White is the more complete guy, and he's ahead of Ospreay in his opinion.
I would agree. I would agree with everything that you just said. It's not necessarily a popular opinion, but that's why it's true as well.
And he was getting frustrated at trying to explain it because it took him a long time to put it in words where it doesn't sound bad. He goes, God damn it, you put me in a spot. You know what I mean? But he explained it eventually.
And as the guy who originally recruited Jay White to Bullet Club, he should put over Jay White more than he put over Ospreay. As the character Kenny Omega.
Oh, for sure, no doubt. So, look, he could be working where he's building something with Ospreay, right? But I thought he was truly being honest, you have to listen to it. It's a great interview. It only goes 30 minutes, but it's a great interview, dude. And he says a lot of telling things, no doubt about it.
Let's jump over to the world of Stardom. Haven't talked a lot about the world of Stardom lately, but if we're going to plug the G1, we've got to plug the 5-Star Grand Prix, which is my second favorite tournament in all of professional wrestling. Shout outs to PWG. You guys come in third. The red block in the blue block. That's how we do the 5-Star Grand Prix. Very, very similar to the G1 Climax. The entire thing is round robin. At the end of it, the winner of the A block will face off with the winner of the B block. Shuri, Tam Nakano, Utami, AZM, Koguma, Maika, Hameka, Thekala, Unagi Sayaka, Saki Kashima, Mai Sakuri, and Risa Siro. We've got a couple in here from a couple of other different companies as well. Those top ones are going to be your potential winners. I would love to see Tam Nakano win this damn thing, but I don't think she's going to. I'm kind of looking at Utami. No. Sukiyama. No. I mean, I could even see Shuri winning this thing. I could see Tam winning it. I could see Utami winning it. I'd love to see Azumi win it, but they're not going to push Azumi to that level yet. It'd be awesome if they would, but they're not going to. But I feel like the winner is actually going to come from the B block. Jimmy, you don't watch nearly as much Stardom as I do, but you want to talk about Murderers Row. Holy freaking hell, dude. So you have Mayu Iwatani, Julia, Saya Kamatani, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, Hazuki, Saya, Natsupoi, Mina Shirakawa, Hinan Mirai, Amy Sohira, and Suzu Suzuki. But they're like the first 6-7 names that I mentioned there, I could make a case for every one of them to win this block.
And I was just looking at the standings, and Tsukiyama is actually last with 0 points. But well, look, you're the resident expert when it comes to Stardom, dude. So, I mean, so you're saying either one of those B block women have got a chance?
With the exception of basically like the bottom 4. But I mean, Mayu, Julia, Saya, Starlight Kid, Momo, Hazuki, Natsupoi, Mina Shirakawa, they're really, really behind. Like, you could make cases for a lot of these women to win this thing. I'm leaning Oedo Tai, but even that doesn't narrow it down because I feel like Oedo Tai needs something. Oedo Tai is kind of cold inside of Stardom right now. But I feel like Starlight Kid and Momo both have had great years. Both of them deserve to win this entire tournament. It's a matter of, do you want to go with an established star like Momo, who has just recently changed factions and looking to reassert her dominance? Or do you go with Starlight Kid, who has had probably the best year of any professional wrestler as far as what she has done for her career over the course of the last year? Like, Kid has become a true performer, face of the company level performer, but I don't know if they're ready to reward her with basically the 5-star at this point.
Yeah, I mean, how old is she? She's pretty young, isn't she?
Yeah, Kid's pretty young.
Like 25, I think.
Oh, I think she's younger than that.
Even younger than that. Well, looking at the standings of the B block, Sakurai is like 5 points. I mean, we've got 5, and Saya at 5 points, and then 4-3-3. I mean, yeah, it can go either way, but yeah, I mean, I will stick with Sakurai, but getting, qualifying from the B block though, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, the Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix. If you enjoy the G1 Climax, definitely the tournament for you.
I should get into it. I should really actually get into it, man. I just keep forgetting about it. I mean, can you watch it on New Japan World?
No, you can watch it on stardom-world.com. Subscription, basically the same as New Japan World, where it's like $7.99 for a month. And then they upload all the shows on delay. So,
All
but
right,
it's
Jago.
great.
I'll
It's
do
great.
it.
I enjoy it.
I'll do it. I need to get into it and see if I actually do get into it. And you know what, man? Going by what you tell me, I think I should.
It's good. It's good. Let's talk a little bit of WWE as we wrap things up this week. 2 stories worth talking about inside of the world of professional wrestling from the WWE perspective. Number 1, the latest WWE superstar, Logan Paul, has officially signed with the WWE. Jimmy T, Logan Paul kind of took to pro wrestling like a fish takes to water. Not necessarily a big surprise. The question is, how into this is he going to be? And how big of a star does he want to be in the world of pro wrestling? And will he draw? Will people tune in to see him get his ass kicked? Because that's really the role that he needs to play here.
Actually, they will, because if you look at his pay-per-view, him and his brother, if you look at the pay-per-view buy rates for their exhibition boxing matches, they've been draws. So, yeah, I think he could bring extra eyeballs to WWE. But, look, man, he's got the potential. It's like what you just said. It's up to him. If he wants to be a big star in professional wrestling and in WWE specifically, he can. But it's all up to him and how he, takes to it. Is he going to get sick of it after a couple of months? Is he going to be on the road full time? That's the thing, Jago. We don't know that yet. So if he is, and he should be because he's at that age where he can be, I can't see why not, dude. I mean, but I can also see him as a good baby face too, man.
With his size, Vince is going to take to him. If he can do this, Vince is going to take to him. Absolutely.
But the money's with him being a heel, dude. And I mean like a real piece of shit heel. You know what I'm saying?
So the question becomes, as I'm looking at the card for Money in the Bank coming up on Saturday on the Cock, the men's Money in the Bank match, Seth freaking Rollins versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Omos versus Sami Zayn versus Matt Riddle versus To Be Determined. Is to be determined Logan Paul?
Wow, well, that really throws a wrench, doesn't it? It could be. Makes sense. Or could it? Nah, it wouldn't be. Don't worry. Yeah, I think it would be. But if you do that, nah. Rollins is going to win the Money in the Bank, dude. 100%.
You think that's just a lock at this point?
It's a lock, bro. It's a lock. I mean, really, it should be Riddle, in my opinion. But Seth Rollins needs this.
Riddle can't challenge for the championship at this point, correct?
On SmackDown.
Oh.
You see? Yeah. And at this point, I think that was out the window anyway, Jago. I think they didn't even gloss over it. Once they announced that, then the week after on Raw, they didn't even mention that, dude. So don't be surprised if that's not even a thing anymore anyway.
I kind of want Sami Zayn to win this match.
Well, it'd be great because he's got a lot of momentum, but
Sami would be so amazing with the briefcase. Oh, that would just be absolute money.
Honorary Us might become an actual Us at this point. But look, right now, I think Rollins really needs it because he's been taking a lot of losses due to Cody. Let's be honest.
I thought it was interesting. I was watching the USFL this weekend at work because
right?
That's the only way that I would watch the USFL is if I'm being paid to watch the USFL. But so I'm watching it and it's on NBC, right? And so they run an insert ad for Monday Night Raw, and where it's like a lower third on the screen, and they're like, tune in to see stars like Seth Rollins and Bianca Belair. And I was like, oh, there's your 2 faces of Raw. Right there. That's who the marketing machine is behind. If you were curious, it's not Becky Lynch anymore. Seth Rollins and Bianca Belair. I thought that was very interesting that those were the 2 superstars that they mentioned and featured in the graphics.
I do think, though, that Becky Lynch might win the women's Money in the Bank, though. It might have the power couple both with briefcases, actually.
Oh, God. As I look at the women's championship Money in the Bank match, Lacey Evans versus Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez. That's Raquel Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, they changed it to Rodriguez. How silly, right? But
Asuka versus Shotzi versus Becky Lynch. I mean, if we're going off of star power, there's only two women here that could possibly win this match, and it's Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. And I didn't even realize Alexa Bliss was back on television. So
as Alexa Bliss, yeah, she's back to her normal self. I mean, Asuka's got potential too. Yeah,
they just did away with all that, huh?
Just did away with all that. She's back as normal Alexa Bliss.
If only therapy actually worked that way.
If only. I mean, seriously, I hate how they do that shit, but it is what it is. About time anyway. Let's be honest, Jago.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree. But...
yeah, it's just the way they did it. But then again, I feel like she's pretty flat at the moment. For me, it's either Becky Lynch, Asuka has a chance, but she won't win it.
She's already won Money in the Bank.
She has, right. I just think it has to be Becky Lynch because she's been taking loss after loss, after loss, after loss. I mean, you can't keep going like this with her, surely.
Well, I mean, the logical thing says that Becky Lynch wins, cashes in on Ronda Rousey, and you're off and running to WrestleMania for Rousey versus Lynch, right? Like, I mean, like that's got to be,
which is the money match.
Yeah, I mean, opinion. That's got to be it. The question is, does she do it after Ronda Rousey defends the SmackDown Women's Championship against Natalya? Natalya is getting a, and you wonder why I don't watch this shit anymore. Natalya versus Ronda Rousey.
And you've done yourself a big favor by not watching it, because if you see this build up to this fucking shit between them two, you will absolutely cry of ridiculousness.
Let me guess. Natalya's the heel?
Absolutely she is, but not just
that.
Oh
my God.
Wait.
Natalya, arguably the most likable person in the entire company. Clueless, aloof, naive as can be, Natalya is the heel against Ronda Rousey, the most ass-kicking woman on the planet, the way that she is presented.
Dude,
okay.
It's been that immature, this friggin' feud, that it's disgusting. First of all, we had Natalya last week on SmackDown turn up dressed as Ronda Rousey, right? And she turned up with a baby stroller, dude. Right? But get this. They started throwing baby shit at each other, like in a catfight sort of scenario, right? It was shocking, dude. But it was laughable. I was laughing at it, but it was just, disgusting. That's how immature this shit is, bro. I'm dead serious. It felt like two little girls going at it, man, and going, I know you are, but what am I? And then throwing baby strollers at each other. And it was just ridiculous, dude.
People wonder why Tony Storm left this company.
Yeah.
Bianca Belair is being challenged by Carmella for the Raw Women's Championship. Boy, does this one sound like a doozy. But I will say, and please tell me that she has said this at least, 800 times since this match was announced. Mella is money?
Absolutely spot on, Jago. She did say Mella is money, but she's not money. That's the problem.
No, she certainly is not.
Yeah, well.
But she works that gimmick better than most. I will say that.
Look, she's found her niche. Put it that way. She knows, she knows who she is now. And yeah, she's all right. She's cool, but she ain't winning. And she would probably never will win the women's championship ever again. She has won it once, I believe, though.
Yes, she absolutely has held it once. Maybe twice.
I think you're right. Maybe twice. And that's twice too many, in my opinion.
The clear match of the night for me, if I was going to watch this show, which I'm not, the Usos take on the Street Profits for the tag team undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships of the world. I don't really care who wins, but I guarantee you this will be the best match of the night.
It'll be a great match, but do you know how many times they've faced each other in the last few weeks?
Not nearly as many times as the Usos have faced off with the New Day.
Just as many, if not more.
God.
So I don't need to see this shit. And look, it's not their fault. It's WWE's fault by not actually Like, they're not creating any more tag teams, dude. It's
What's more burned out? What's more burned out? The Usos versus the Street Profits, or the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Jericho Appreciation Society?
Well, I will say the Street Profits and the Usos for one reason, because it's been going on for months and months. Whereas the Blackpool Combat Club, geez, that's a tongue twister. You know, it's still the
Say it
kind of
5 times
thing.
fast.
Yeah, how dare you to say it? Blackpool Combat. I'm not even gonna bother. It's too long, damn it. But yeah, like I think they're both drowned out either way, Jargo. You know what I mean? The Blackpool Combat Club to me has no direction. That's my problem. You know what I mean?
Which is hilarious considering that one of them is the AEW interim world heavyweight champion, even though they won't admit it on their television. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Only Excalibur was the one that actually mentioned that. And I will say, I mean, look at these guys. And I'm talking about the Blackpool Combat Club. So we're going to have all these guys bickering all the fucking time with each other. That's essentially what we're getting, Jargo.
Yeah.
What for? What's the friggin' point? Well, we're going to have Regal become the special guest referee eventually. Do we get a 6-way cage match with all these guys? I mean, who knows and who cares at this point?
So before we started the production meeting today, I was like, oh, I'm going to pull up the card for Money in the Bank. We'll preview Money in the Bank as we wrap up the show. And I started laughing hysterically. Why? And you wanted to know why. And I saved it for the last thing on the show today. Are you ready for this? This is going to be one of the greatest things in the history of the world. For the WWE United States Heavyweight Championship, Austin Theory defends the title against Bobby Lashley. Holy shit.
Dude.
What the fuck? Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory? To somebody who has not watched WWE TV in going on, what, 3 months? Do you realize how absurd this sounds?
Dude, do you know how absurd it was seeing a pose down between Lashley?
Are you kidding me?
Oil and all, bro. And you know how you know what happens in the end? They don't end up really throwing punches. They're throwing. Do you remember 1988 Royal Rumble, right? With the pose down between Ravishing Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
And Bobby do you remember that? And Bobby the Brain Heenan, you know, being. And you know this, and then he sprayed the oil in friggin' Warrior's face at the end.
Oh my God. They recreated all of that? Ugh. Have we lost Jimmy T again? I was so looking forward to Jimmy T's thoughts on this match. Jimmy T, where did you go? It appears as though Jimmy T. Oh, maybe he's back.
Sorry, bro. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy T.
Sorry about that. Like I was saying, yeah, remember that Royal Rumble with the pose down and then the oil gets sprayed into Warrior's face at the very end?
Oh, yeah.
We had a reenactment of that exact scenario with Lashley and Theory. I will say Theory made it actually quite funny and entertaining, but when you see this shit, it's ridiculous. They had a pose down and Theory's like, yeah, look at me. I'm so ripped. He's nowhere near as big as Lashley. It's kind of funny, but it's just so dumb. But it's a funny little feud, but Lashley's going to get the win. Well, then again, maybe not. Who knows?
So at least 2 of the championship matches here we have discussed are funny but entertaining.
It is kind of entertaining, this feud, I won't lie, but it's silly at the same time.
But I mean, when I'm looking at this card and I see Rousey versus Natalia, Theory versus Lashley, Belair versus Carmella, Usos versus Street Profits, which evidently has been beat to death. And then there's the 2 Money in the Bank matches. I'm not tuning in to watch that.
Now I know why Fox 80 is airing Money in the Bank and SummerSlam for free on Australian cable television.
I'm not sure I would tune in to watch that if that was Monday Night Raw.
It's a pretty bad card, isn't it?
It's a pretty bad card.
They're gearing up. Look, as bad as it looks on paper, you know they will probably deliver, though, as dumb as that sounds, because for whatever reason, come pay-per-views, the in-ring work for, you know, at WWE is pretty decent. You know what I mean? For pay-per-views, whether it will make sense, who the fuck knows? But clearly they're building for SummerSlam and the Clash in the Castle, whatever the hell it's called, where Drew McIntyre will end up winning the WWE Championship of Roman Reigns anyway.
Clash at the Castle.
Clash at the Castle. Whoever came up, whoever is part of the marketing team over there, fire him now.
Clash at the Castle.
What is it? Clash at the Sandcastle? Is it Clash at the Snow Castle?
I bet you it's not nearly as cool as this Osaka Joe Castle. I'll tell you that.
It's definitely not as cool as Osaka Joe Castle
Just
at all.
Just
Nah, just saying. Absolutely, you're right.
My God. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's show. Thanks for watching and or listening. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Then visit us over at the Hameen Media Group at Hameen Media Group on social media. Of course, channelattitude.com, where for $5, you get all of the great content from the Hameen Media Group on audio and video, including the Stevie Richards, Vince Russo, Ben Hameen Raw review. That alone is worth the price of admission. You can keep up with me across social media platforms at NotJargo, at _DJ MassFX_ for Jimmy T. Jimmy T, anything you want to plug, promote, put over, tell them about the PWC.
Well, yeah, you can check out all our shows at the pwcnetwork.podbean.com. Where's Podbean? I swear to God, I'm going to kill them. You know, remember what happened to you where you couldn't upload anything else?
Oh, I remember.
Well, it's happened to me, even though I've got the plan where it's unlimited, apparently.
Ridiculous,
Go figure, right?
Dude. Ridiculous.
So I haven't been able to upload as many shows as I like up until July 1st. Problem is, it's July 1st, and I went to upload the skirmish, and it's still telling me
it's not July 1st because you live in the future?
I guess so. So I guess I got to wait till July 2nd because, you know, it's not quite the first in the States just yet. But yeah, that's what's happening at the PWC Network. Also, like and subscribe, like you said, at channelattitude.com, where you can find us. And for only $5, you get to see Ben Hameen, Stevie Richards, me, Jargo, Chris Hams when he's back from assignment in Canada. But more importantly, like and subscribe right here at theblowofpod.com. And check me out on the Hammerlock Hangover. 8 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Shout out to Jeff Lippman. We will talk to you next week for a new edition of The Blow Off. We will talk to you probably on Saturday, where we talk about Brody King and the Rampage Rumble. So yeah, we'll talk to you Rampage Uncaged over at channelattitude.com. Next week for The Blow Off. For now, we're off like a prom dress. See ya.